everybody, and welcome back to the 1902 Farmhouse project. And if you've been following me on Instagram, you know we've started on the siding. You know, with the last video I posted on YouTube, we was I think we were replacing windows up here in the front. Well, we've got this one side sided. We got all the doors and windows replaced on it. We got this section right here for a deck, future deck. We'll actually cover up the old porch. We'll remove the old porch roof that was overhanging and fixed. There was no stack right there, plumbing stack. We removed it and fixed that hole. And of course, this is not the color. This is primer. And we're starting on here on this side. So yesterday and the day before, we worked and got all three windows replaced. We closed in this window here. It was a big rollout, and we put two side windows in. I think I showed y'all that. Well, I may not have showed you. I might have told you about it. If you've seen my Instagram post, I showed where I framed these two windows on the inside a while back when it was so windy outside. I couldn't work outside. I went ahead and framed them. So that was real easy to cut the wood out and reframe them. Now right here on this one, I had to restructure everything. So it's got 3/4 plywood, and then it's got 1/4-inch plywood around and under it because we're using 1/4-inch plywood for a rain screen. So if you're not familiar with what a rain screen is, a rain screen is basically an area where if any water gets behind your siding, it hits this house wrap and runs down. It won't get trapped. I'm using 1/4-inch plywood, so that leaves a 1/4-inch gap between the siding and the house wrap. I should have showed y'all this before I did it, but I took aluminum screen wire, I stapled it down the bottom, and then I looped it back on top of these. Just fold it back over and tack it, and that way up underneath the screen, so no bugs will ever be able to climb under there to build inside. Now on the upper side, I'm not doing that because the upper side is just going to die right into the F trim of the fascia of the soffit. So there won't really be they won't be worried too much about water intrusion that far up. So I'm not worried about that. But so I put all these strips on, and of course, as you can see, we've only got half the house wrap up. And the reason for that is I bought these scaffolds, and I can get pretty much the first half of this without using the scaffolds. But once I get the scaffolds up, I want to keep going, and actually I can stack them. I have to go too high to get about really I don't need but about this much higher to get to the fascia and soffit and change it out, because this is old ugly beige, and you can see on the corner there where we're going white. And so the windows, because I didn't want those to be inset, I'm going to frame around the windows. I'll show you what I'm doing with that. I'm basically using this PVC, same PVC stuff. I did buy some of that Hardie trim. I don't like it. It breaks real easy. It don't nail good. I did use some of the Hardie trim around this door. I wished I hadn't. It's just so plain and ugly. But around all the windows, I went with a 6-inch PVC at the top and then 3.5 around the side, and makes them look big. And you know, these are the old divided light windows, like the old style houses, and the craftsman style door with the divided lights. So that's what I got to do. I've run out of trim, so I got to make a run tomorrow to get some trim. So today I'm basically at the point where I'm ready to start putting up siding, except I needed to match this siding over here. And since we came up a good bit right here off the bottom, this is the bottom of the original siding right here. So we came up Well, let me get the tape measure. Let's see. I believe we came up about 8 inches to put a header. May have been bigger than that. So yeah, maybe about 8.5 inches, maybe 9. So, but definitely 8.5 or thereabouts. So that'll be a place for the header for the deck. So what I was saying is we want this siding to match this siding. So basically I went right here where the bottom of this siding is, and actually let's see, I made a mark. I don't know if you can see me. Put my pencil up. There it is. So that mark goes with the edge of this side right here. Won't be. And so I transferred that mark around to here. Now, as you can see, maybe if I can back out, here's my mark, and 7 inches below that there's another mark. So that's going to be the bottom of the next piece down, and then 7 inches below that is another mark, and that's going to be the bottom of that. So now from here to here we got to get a measure and add 1 1/8 inches, because that's how much it sticks up. So 1 1/8 inches. And so we're looking at, let me see if I can do this on camera here, 1 1/8 inches. We're looking at about 6 1/4, no, 6 3/4. So I got to rip a piece 6 3/4 to start with, and that way all of them will be the same all the way to the top. They'll match up. If you look around, I'm gonna trip over that little stump. They will match up, and it'll look right at the top, because even though this siding is level, but I liked about 1.5 inches being level where the soffit would be level. So I just dropped the soffit down that 1.5 inches, and you cannot tell from the ground that soffit is not level. So that's what we'll do over here. We'll just drop it down to the top of that board there. And basically on this one I'll have 3 extra boards. 2 extra boards on this side. One board won't be all the true 7-inch reveal, but it'll be down at the bottom. It'll be the short reveal, and then the rest of them be the same. Now I do have one issue. I wasn't really going to point it out, but to be fair, I messed up on a cut on this side. And it's that piece that's right over the door. It's hard to tell, but that piece over the door I had to end up dropping down. So the actual up underneath, so it's this piece here and this piece here. As you might can tell, there's a little bit of difference between the reveal this and the reveal that. That's 6 inches, that's 7 inches. So I ended up having to drop that reveal down about 1 inch because I messed up my cut and I didn't really want to recut it. So one board up there is a 6 inch reveal. So I'm gonna, if I maintain the look, I'm gonna have to do the same thing on the other side, on all the sides, to maintain the look. So the joys of DIY. I've been working on this for, what's the day? Today's like I've been working on this since the 1st of May. Today's 14th May. And so this is 2 weeks in. I've got this side done and started about, I'd say, halfway on this side in 2 weeks. And I'm sure if I went ahead and hired a crew, they could have had this whole house sided and painted in 2 weeks. But you know, it's just me and my wife, and every now and then some other folks come around to help us. But we're not in no hurry, and saving a lot of money by doing it ourselves. And really, you know, other than being hurting and back aches and all that, muscle aches, it's been pretty rewarding doing it ourselves. So if you're thinking about doing it yourself, I'm gonna tell you, it's a job. You better have plenty of time to do it in good weather, and don't do it in the summertime because it's way too hot to be working on the outside of the house in summertime. It's hot today, but it's I think it's like 80 right now. It's 81 degrees. There's a little bit of a breeze, so it don't feel bad. But if there wasn't any breeze, it would be extremely difficult to be out here. Right now I got a little cloud cover. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the video, and I'm going to bring you back when we get done. I'm not going to really show the process because there's so many videos on how to install this Hardie Plank siding. It's not real difficult. I will say, when you're cutting it, if you got something like the guillotine, I got a thing called the sharpshooter that I bought to do laminate flooring with. And it's basically a guillotine that comes down and chops it, and it breaks this stuff cleanly. Looks like it's perfect. Of course, you can use a saw, but the guillotine, they sell a guillotine made for this, but the sharpshooter, look it up. It's probably cheaper than the Hardie guillotine. It works just as good, and it's very fast, no dust. All right, so here's the setup I'm using to cut this. So I've got this sharpshooter multi-purpose cutter. I bought this off Amazon, so if you can look it up on Amazon. Here's the part number right here. So I bought this to cut laminate floor with, and it does an excellent job. It also does an excellent job on this stuff. So I've marked 8 foot from the bottom here, 8 foot. So all we gotta do is slide it in. And get above this. I think that's why she had these up here. Let me get a few more pieces up here. So either we gotta go up. I might just go down with it. I actually end up just jagging it up in the back to get it clear of this rail here, and it works out pretty well. So this has already got the fence. We've got the mark close to the blade. We're just gonna ease it up to the blade's right on the mark. Looks like I'm too far forward. Back a little bit. Make sure it's good and square. Looks good. Just pull the handle. Makes a nice cut. Basically shears it. This stuff, once you score it, it'll break real easy. So all I gotta do now is put a little primer on that, and I just use this spray primer. I don't know if y'all can see. It's just the I'll show you what it looks like when I get it. So this is the primer I'm using. Make sure your primer says exterior grade. A lot of these primers only have interior grade. Your Kilts says interior, it doesn't say exterior. So make sure it says exterior, and always prime your cut ends. Like that. So you'll see spots of white. That's where we prime cut ends. Now, what I would prefer on my joints would be 2 factory butt ends. Those joints that have no primer are factory end joints, and of course those are going to look a lot better. But once we started cutting it with this instead of a saw, our joints started looking really good. So some of the early ones we put up with a saw, I ended up having to go back and caulk because it was too big a gap. But you can caulk your joints, but I always put flashing behind them, and I just cut me some flashing, just some pieces out of some just galvanized steel. I think this is galvanized. It's real thin. So this, like the butt joint, cover half of it, the other one cover the other half, so if any water gets in that joint, it'll run out. I always make sure that this goes above the lower layer, and it don't show. You don't want this to show, so you don't have to go far, but it just needs to go above the bottom layer of siding. All right, everybody, this is where we got to in the day Friday. And so today is Saturday. I think we should easily be able to get the rest of the siding up and possibly start on the fascia and soffit. Had to trim those windows out yesterday, put that other tie back up, and extend our 1/4-inch strips up. And of course, cutting out around windows is always tedious. I did pretty good on the second one, but I got a little bit carried away with the first one. But you know, it'll caulk up. It's just a little more cracked around the bottom up than I like. So today I'm gonna get started, and we've got one more window to cut out around. What I'll probably do is I've got a force pattern going here. So the way the pattern works, the first one is a 12, which is the standard length. The next one's an 8. Let me get my hand out of my way. The next ones start with a 4, and then you go back to a 12. So it's 12, 8, 4, 12, and that'll keep the seams within, you know, that's 4 foot apart the seams are, so that works out real well. I think it's got to be like 20, maybe 37 inches, I believe is what they recommend for the seams. So by doing a 4-step pattern, every 4th row will repeat. So this one's 12 and this one's 12. So the top one's 12. So the next one's going to be a 4. Right? No, an 8. I'm sorry. Next one will be an 8. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8. So the next one will be the one I cut out around the window. So this first one's just an 8-footer. I can get it up there pretty quick. Always remember to stagger your joints. Don't have them too close together. Now it don't matter if the joint below, you know, it's basically the adjacent joints. So like, I don't know if you're picking up this joint here is 4 foot from that joint, which is 4 foot. You know, 4 foot or more, like 8 foot from that joint. So, and then of course between the windows we'll just go up. Won't be any joints between the windows. We got a good place to get rid of some short pieces over here on the end. You'll end up with a bunch of short cut off pieces, so save them. You might end up like this. It's about 2.5 feet right there going up, so it's a good place to get rid of them. All right, everybody, this is where I got to Saturday evening. I like one more strip, and I've got to tear down all this and replace it. So that's got to come down first, and then we'll put the last piece up here, and then we'll run our F-trim and our soffit. So it is It is 9:07 Sunday, May 17th in the morning, and I'll bring you back when I get it done. All right, everybody, 3:33. I just got the last everything put up. I did not get finished. I like just the corner. I could finish that today, but I need to take this section of scaffolding down and move it to the end. And I'm so tired. I really didn't stop, but for water breaks and just a quick bite to eat. So 6 hours pretty much had full blast. But this is what I like. Just keep quiet, reach out to that corner. Like I'm gonna go ahead and bend that other 6-foot section of fascia and have it ready. But what I'll probably do tomorrow is I'll go ahead and take the scaffold down, except for this section here, and I can slide this over enough to get it. But it's supposed to rain tomorrow, so it'll probably be Tuesday. I still got to put this corner board on. I was gonna wait till I see more how high it was before I put it up. I could do it now, but they called for rain this afternoon, so this has been unbelievably warm. I think it was 85 with probably 85 or 90% humidity. Even this morning when it was in the 70s, it didn't take long for me to get soaked with sweat. And you know, fooling with these scaffolds, it's not that hard. You know, those boards are kind of heavy, but I got most of them screwed down, so I had to go unscrew everything to move it. But it's not difficult to move the scaffolding if I wasn't just dadgum tired. And I'm not really worried about a little old corner. I know some people, that would eat them up, but I'm not OCD about that. I do see something I need to put up though. So anyway, thanks for watching. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm loving the way this house is looking. It ain't perfect, but it's a whole lot better than what it was. So on to this next side next week. We got 4 windows. Up front yonder is going to be a double window. So we got this window, that window, and a double window to change out, and then all this will have to get you know, sided. So stay tuned.